Our webinar will now begin.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Dr. Brown and I serve as DCR Social Equity Program Director. Today's webinar is the fourth in a series of Seed Grant Lunch and Learn webinars. It is our goal to assist qualified applicants in the completion of their Seed Grant application and ultimately receive financial grant assistance. First, I'd like to introduce the Social Equity team, who I am proud to work with. They have been working tirelessly in partnership with Elevate Impact LA to administer and manage this program. Allison Toll, Catherine Smith-Ball, and Ethan Spalding. Thank you for all the work that you do, team. Just to give you a little bit of background, the Seed Grant program is utilizing funds from the 2019 and 2020 Cannabis Equity Grant for Local Jurisdictions, or better known as the CEG grant. This provides financial assistance to verified social equity individual applicants. In June of 2020, DCR selected Elevate Impact LA to administer the financial grant program. In April of 2021, the City of Los Angeles established the Social Equity Entrepreneur Development Grant Program, or better known as SEED. To date, the City of LA has dedicated $6 million towards SEED, $5 million for SEED 1.0, and $1 million for SEED 2.0. Next slide. SEED 1.0 will utilize $5 million of the $6 million in CEG funding to provide $25,000 each to Phase 3 Retail Round 1 social equity individual applicants. Now, all Phase 3 Retail Round 1 applicants have been sent emails, texts, notifying them that they are eligible for the $25,000 in grant funding. Notifications were emailed to the addresses associated with the Excella account. All registered for today's Lunch and Learn were sent the 4 grant application assessment documents needed for the application. Next slide, please. The SEED 2.0, which would utilize $1 million of the 6 to provide grants up to $10,000 each to verify social equity individual applicants in 2 disbursements. Applicants are eligible to receive $5,000 disbursement when the Department of Cannabis Regulation approves their pre-application for further processing. They can receive an additional $5,000 when they reach a milestone that deems them eligible for a notice of local compliance underway. Next slide. Now, the SEED grant applicants must apply by August 18th. That is our deadline. Folks, I can't emphasize that enough. You must apply by August 18th, 2021. SEED grant funds not dispersed by 90 days prior to the end of the city's CEG contract will be dispersed on a pro rata basis to eligible recipients who applied prior to August 18th, 2021. Applicants who received funds under the 1.0 are not eligible for the 2.0, and applicants who receive funding under the 2.0 are not eligible for the 1.0. Next slide. Without further delay, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Paula Groves, who is the CEO of Elevate Impact LA and the project manager responsible for administering the SEED grant program. Ms. Groves will introduce her team and then walk you through the SEED grant application step by step. You will have an opportunity to ask questions as she goes through the application. We will ask you to submit your questions through the question and answer icon at the bottom of the screen, and we will answer as many questions as time permits. All the questions and answers will be uploaded onto the DCR website. For those who registered and received the 4 assessment documents, you can fill them out while Ms. Groves is walking you through each document. And that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Groves. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Brown. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for your interest in the program. We are so excited to be partnering with the City of LA to disperse the grant funds to social equity applicants. By way of introduction, Elevate Impact was launched in 2018 to implement the City of Oakland's social equity program, which was back then funded by city tax revenue. Since that time, we've expanded to serve the City of Los Angeles, the City of Sacramento, and the County of Mendocino. We're deploying over $10 million in loan and grant funds to social equity entrepreneurs throughout California. Today, I'm joined on the call with 3 team members, Laura Herrera, Tiffany McBride, and Stacy Brennan Gray. I just want to give them a shout out, a thank you, a digital hug, whatever they need to affirm that they are doing such a fantastic job of helping to disperse these grant funds to the city of LA. And so I just want to say thank you for being on board and being a part of the team. Next slide, please. So now I would want to walk you through our 6-step disbursement process. These are the 6 steps that you will need to follow in order to receive grant funds from the city of LA. Next slide, please. So first step is to actually apply online. You can go to our website, elevateimpactla.com, and you will be required to complete the grant application online. And later in this presentation, I'm going to walk you through what exactly the grant application entails. Paper applications will not be accepted, and you will need to provide your ACA reference number, and you will also have to upload your grant assessment documents. But before we move to the next slide, we want to run a quick video to show you how to find your ACA reference number.
The Department of Cannabis Regulation, also known as DCR, is transforming its website into a more user-friendly online information and resource center. We have comprehensively redesigned our website to streamline, simplify, and make more accessible information related to licensing and the social equity program. All videos and resources on the website are for informational or guidance purposes only and may be updated from time to time as information becomes available. The information contained in these videos, forms, and other resources is subject to change without notice and does not replace or supersede the requirements contained in the Los Angeles Municipal Code or the rules and regulations. DCR encourages all applicants to conduct their own due diligence and seek legal or business advice if necessary.
In this video, I will demonstrate how to look up an Excellus Citizen Access reference identification number. To start, please navigate to the LADCR Excella portal, enter your username, password, click on the I'm Not a Robot CAPTCHA, and log into the system. From your home screen, please navigate your cursor to the Account Management section. On the Account Management screen, scroll down to Contact Information, where you will find your Excella Citizen Access reference ID number located here. Please write down and save this number for future reference. Thank you for watching this video.
Thank you so much. I also want to point out that the DCR website has 3 video tutorials specifically on the SEED program page. These videos will show you how to navigate the elevateimpactla.com website, give you an overview of the grant assessment documents, and go step by step through an application. Next slide, please. Also on our website, if you navigate to the How to Apply menu, you can also get additional information on how to apply to the SEED grant program. Next slide, please. This is a screenshot of what the first page of the application looks like. When applying, you'll have the ability to either complete the application all at once, or you can save your work by clicking on Save Progress and come back to it later. If you want to save your work and return later, you will need to create a new user account first by clicking on the Login button. Next slide, please. Step 2, application review. Once an application has been received, Elevate Impact staff will review the application for completeness. If anything has been missed, the applicant will receive an email requesting the missed information. We are also available by phone if the applicant has any questions. Next slide, please. If the application is complete, it will then be assessed by the Elevate Impact Committee. The next few slides will walk you through our assessment process. But note, if an applicant does not submit a completed application, they will be contacted and coached by the Elevate Impact team on how to improve their application, and it can then be resubmitted. In all of the other cities that we've worked on, an application has never been denied. Next slide, please. Grant assessment documents. The documents that we will assess include the following: a written budget narrative of how you plan to use your funds, a budget or an online list of expenditures that total the requested grant amount, a business executive summary, which should be about 3 to 5 pages, and monthly expense projections for a 12-month period. These are the types of documents that are required by most traditional funding sources, such as banks or investors. And now we're going to talk about each one of these documents specifically, and you will have the ability to answer questions after we go through each document. Next slide, please. So this is a screenshot of all 4 documents that we plan to go through. And first, we'll talk about the written budget narrative of how the funds will be used. Next slide, please. The written budget narrative describes how the funds will be used. This is basically a written explanation of your budget. We are also going to require that you upload a budget spreadsheet for how the funds will be used. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But to accompany that quantitative budget, we also need a qualitative or verbal description of each of your budget categories. Let's take a look at an example. Our example assumes that the applicant will be spending money in 5 areas: rent, licensing fees, legal assistance, regulatory compliance, and then finally, capital improvements. Your own budget categories and amounts may differ. But using our example, if you're spending money on rent and you're allocating $3,000 to rent, you would simply have to write, our monthly rent is $3,000, and we will use $3,000 of the grant funds for rent. Next, if you're planning to use part of the funds for licensing fees, you would simply have to write that you're going to use some of the grant funds for your state licensing fee, and you anticipate that licensing fee amount to be $6,000. Now, let's say that you want help negotiating your partnership agreements and that you also want help developing your employee your employee handbook. That may require that you go and receive advice from an attorney. So you might want to allocate $5,000 to legal fees. Next, we all know that business insurance is a core cost associated with being in business. So let's say you've done some research and discovered that in order to purchase a business general liability insurance policy, that's going to cost you $7,000. You would simply list that cost here. Finally, let's say that you want to add storage to your current location, and that storage unit will cost you $4,000. Simply explain that you anticipate adding additional storage and the cost will be $4,000 in capital improvement costs. So this is how we would like for you to lay out a written explanation of how you anticipate spending your grant funds. Next slide, please. Perfect. So does anyone have questions about completing the written narrative about how your grant funds will be used? We'll take questions now.
Hello, Paula. This is Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi there. We have one question about the grant. And sorry, it is about C 2.0. How may the person qualify for the $10,000?
So Dr. Brown, I'm going to ask you to respond to that question. We have 2 criteria to qualify for the $10,000. You can qualify for those amounts in 2 different tranches. The first $5,000 is basically you become eligible once you are, sorry, I'm just getting my notes. Bear with me 1 second.
Well,
Let's see. So the first 5, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Paula, if you want to. If you want to answer it, that's fine.
Okay, I was just going to say the first $5,000 you can become eligible for once DCR deems that your applicant is eligible for further processing. So you can get $5,000 once you've met that milestone. The second $5,000 you can receive once the applicant is eligible for a notice of compliance underway. So the second $5,000 you can receive once you are eligible for a notice of local compliance underway. Now, you should also know that if you've already met both of those criteria, both criteria 1 and criteria 2, you can apply for $10,000 all at once. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add, Dr. Brown?
Other than that, for the local compliance underway, that means that you would have had to have submitted completed temporary approval application. That's what that means for folks who are not clear about that yet.
Perfect.
Okay. That's what we have for now. So if you'd like to continue, and let me just remind everyone in the Zoom, if you have a question, please submit it below in the Q&A chat box.
Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, next slide, please. Perfect. Next, we'd like to talk about your budget. We would like you to submit your budget in a spreadsheet format using something like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. So let's take a look at our budget example. As you can see, based upon the written narrative that we just went through, the budget is simply a tabulation of all of the different categories. So here we've entered that rent is $3,000, licensing fees are $6,000, legal assistance is $5,000, regulatory compliance, which is in this example are the estimated insurance costs, and they total $7,000. And finally, remember we had a capital improvement cost because we wanted to add a storage unit to your space, and that cost is $4,000. When you add all of these costs together, your total budget amount is $25,000. And that is the amount that you would be applying for if you're applying for a SEED 1.0 grant. Again, what is most important about your budget is that the total budget amount is equal to the grant amount that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a $5,000 grant, we would expect these budget categories to add up to a total budget amount of $5,000. Okay, any questions on the quantitative budget?
We don't have any questions about the quantitative budget, but we did have a follow-up question to the first one about can candidates qualify for $10,000 per application that they submit? The audience member wanted to know to confirm that there is only one grant of $10,000 per SEP applicant, regardless of how many applications, I'm assuming for licenses, they've submitted. And so I'll just answer and say, yes, that's correct. So regardless of how many license applications you've submitted, you are would be eligible for the one $10,000 grant per applicant.
Okay,
right.
good question. All right, next slide, please. Perfect. Monthly expense projections. The monthly expense projection document requires that you upload an Excel spreadsheet or use Google Sheets. One of the most critical aspects of running a business is making sure you do not run out of cash. So one of the ways we like to use to ensure that you don't run out of cash is by having an understanding of how much money you need to spend. And most of the times you're not going to spend the money all at once, but you're going to spend it over time. So what we would like for people to do is to create a monthly expense projection using our template, which can be found on the website. This document gives you the opportunity to lay out the budget in a time-sensitive manner. Okay, so in our example, we've assumed that you're applying for a grant of $25,000 and you're spending $3,000 in rent. So would you spend that rent money in month 1, month 2, or month 3? You would enter the month of the rent. I'm sorry, you would enter the rent in the month column for the month that you intend to pay the rent. So in this example, we're assuming that you're going to not have to spend your rent money until month 3. So you might have some savings or accumulated cash in your business that would allow you to pay rents in months 1 and 2. And so you wouldn't use the grant money to pay rent until month 3. Now, let's assume you have set aside $6,000 of the grant funds to pay for your state licensing fees, but maybe your state licensing fee isn't due until 6 months after you have closed on the grant. So you would simply take that $6,000 and you would enter that amount in the month 6 column. Continuing with our illustration, let's say that you're buying general liability insurance for $7,000, but you actually just paid that bill last month. And in our example, it's an annual policy. So you probably won't need to spend your $7,000 until month 12, which would be a year from when you made the last $7,000 payment. So you would enter the $7,000 in month 12. And in our final illustration of the monthly expense projection, let's take a look at the capital improvements category. In our example, you wanted to add a new $4,000 storage unit to your business. Now, if you actually build the storage unit into your business property, you may first have to work with an architect to design the storage and the shelving plans. So maybe you spend months 1 and 2 designing the space, but you don't actually have to write a check or spend the money for the storage unit until month 3, because months 1 and 2 are the design phase. So using this example, you would put the storage unit cost of $4,000 in the month 3 column. The last step of projecting your monthly expenses is to add all of your monthly expenses for each of the months and each of the categories going across from month 1 to month 12 and enter the sum in the last column, column Q, labeled total year 1. You would simply add all of your expenses in column Q, going down and enter the sum of column Q expenses in the total expenses row in the cell in column Q. So if you're applying for a $25,000 grant, your total expenses in column Q should total $25,000. Perfect. Do we have any questions about the monthly financial projections? Or anything for that matter, not just projections.
Right. I think you're doing such a great job explaining the process. So no questions for now, but just a reminder. Oh, wait, maybe. Please enter your questions in the Q&A chat box. Oh, actually, we do have a question. So the person would like a little bit of clarification on the budget and expense projections.
Sure.
Should they only include costs that will be covered by the grant funds and not all of the other expenses that they will incur?
We would like for you to only incur the costs associated with the grant funding. And the reason is that we are actually required to report how entrepreneurs spend the grant money to the state. They want to know specifically how the entrepreneurs in LA spent the grant funding. So that's why we only want you to show the expenses associated with the grant dollars that you are applying for. Now, we do understand that most business owners may have a full budget for their entire operations, which is far greater than $25,000. So if you need help deciding which expenses to allocate to the budget, our underwriters can help you with that. But ultimately, we do need a document which totals, where the budget totals the amount of the grant.
Great.
Okay.
All right. I think we can move on.
Next slide, please. The final document that you ask for as a part of the assessment documents is the business executive summary. The business executive summary is a shortened version of your business plan. We just want to understand more about the type of business that you're running, how you anticipate acquiring customers, what type of product you're developing, and how you plan to market your services. We expect the business executive summary to be a short document of only 3 to 5 pages. All of the questions that are outlined in this business executive summary example may not apply to your business, but we do want you to describe all that you can to the best of your ability. So let's walk through this document in more detail. Section 1, the overview section is where you enter the company information. This is your name, your website, your company description of 50 words or less, and if you have a slogan or a tagline, this would be a great place to enter that information. The next section involves product questions. This section is specifically designed to help you describe the type of product that you're bringing to market. We want you to describe your product or service. And please write about the top features of your products and the benefit of those features or products and services. Then tell us how much money you will require setting up and developing your product. The next section is the competition questions. We all know that being in the cannabis industry can be a very competitive marketplace. So we just want to understand if you're aware of who your competition is and who your top 3 competitors are. And also spend a little bit of time thinking about how you're different or how you're unique and why a customer might buy your product instead of your competitor's product. The next section is the marketing and sales questions. Once you've developed your product, a critical question that all businesses have to ask is, how are you actually going to get your product in the hands of your customer? This section gives you a chance to explain that. The next section of our business executive summary addresses staff. A successful business often requires a team. So we would like to understand who's on your team, including your partners and consultants. If having a staff will cost you money or working with a consultant will cost you money, you have the opportunity to explain here who those individuals are and how much of your budget you may have to spend working with them. All right. In section 9, we ask infrastructure questions. These are the physical attributes of your business that you will have to spend money on to help you set things up. For example, you may have to spend money on construction to bring your facility into compliance, or you may have to purchase equipment, whether that's computer equipment or it might even be packaging equipment. Other examples include security systems, phones, and leases. Section 10. These are the compliance questions. We all know that the cannabis industry is highly regulated, and these are the costs associated with making sure that you stay in compliance. So the first question is, what type of cannabis business are you operating? Do you need to provide health insurance to your employees as part of a labor agreement? Do you need to purchase general liability insurance? These questions would be addressed in the compliance section. Finally, being in business requires staying in action. So we would like for you to upload your action plan. This plan describes what you need to do next in order to be successful and make sure that you're launching a long-term sustainable business. So in this section, you have the opportunity to list out what you think the milestones are for yourself. Certain milestones might include 1, secure funding, 2, create design plans, 3, build out your space, 4, purchase furniture, 5, develop a logo. All of these types of action items can be a part of your action plan. Here, you'll have the opportunity to list all these actions in your sections, which we have labeled action plan questions. So that really is an overview of a business executive summary. Do we have any questions regarding the executive summary?
No questions. I would like to remind everyone, please, if you have a question, please type it in the Q&A button below on your laptop or on your mobile device. And you can type it in at any time. So if you have a question about a previous section, go ahead and type it in, and we will answer those questions during this webinar, but we will continue.
Great, thank you. Next slide, please. So once we've received all of your documents, we go through our assessment process. And this is what our assessment checklist looks like. We just want to evaluate each of the documents, the 4 documents that we've just described, for their completeness. You know, we have had situations where people have entered 1 or 2 word answers, or the budget doesn't total, or maybe the budget spreadsheet is completely blank. So we just want to go back and make sure that all of the questions have been answered in a logical manner. And this is the checklist that we use to ensure that that has happened. So once you've submitted these 4 documents as a part of the application, we will review your application using this assessment checklist. Next slide, please. Grant approval. If, after review by the Elevate Impact Grant Committee, an applicant passes the assessment process, an email is sent to the applicant saying that they've passed and they have now become an approved applicant. Again, if you don't pass, the entrepreneur will be coached on how to improve their application and they can reapply. Next slide, please. Step 4, virtual signing. After approval, a grant agreement, which is our legal document, is created for your approved application. And the Elevate Impact staff will meet virtually with the applicant to review the legal documents, address any questions, and verify the applicant's identity. The grant agreement will ask approved applicants to confirm that they understand the approved use of funds and supply a non-binding budget outlining those questions. After an approved applicant has received and e-signed the document, the City of LA will electronically sign the documents as well. Next slide, please. Step 5, grant disbursement. Once all of the signatures have been gathered, and we gather our signatures using a DocuSign process, that's the process that we use to circulate the digital agreements. So once all the signatures have been gathered via DocuSign, the approved applicant will create an account at Elevate Impact Funds where they can upload details for how they would like to receive grant funds. Next slide, please. This is an example of what you can use your grant funding for. There are specific categories that the state would like to see in terms of how you spend your grant monies. So these are some of the approved uses for the categories in which you can spend your grant funding on. Next slide, please. And I think it's also important to point out what you cannot spend grant funds for. You cannot use money for unlicensed cannabis businesses. You cannot use funding associated with non-cannabis businesses that serve the cannabis industry. Some people call these ancillary businesses. You cannot purchase inventory. You cannot use grant funds on personal expenses, such as the acquisition of properties such as cars or homes. That is not allowed. You cannot relend the grant funds, or you cannot use them for investing activities, and you cannot use the money to engage in prohibited operations. Next slide, please. And step 6, grant disbursement. Grant recipients, after you've received your grant funds, will be required to upload receipts detailing all of the expenditures that they actually use to spend the grant funds on. So these are basically, earlier we talked about the budget, and then afterwards, once you've spent the money, we would need to look at the receipts to ensure that you spent the money on the approved uses of the grant funds we were just talking about a few moments ago. And these receipts can be uploaded at elevateimpactfunds.com. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Tiffany, who's going to talk to you about the steps associated with receiving your grant funds.
Right. Thanks, Paula. Okay, there are 6 steps to the disbursement process. Step number 1 is the grant approval email that you will receive. Step number 2 is the legal document review. Step 3, signing the documents. Step 4 is a video identity verification. And step 5, establish your account to receive funds on elevateimpactfunds.com. And finally, step 6, grant funds disbursement. Next slide, please. The funds grant approval email. You'll receive an email of your legal docs, and each applicant will have the opportunity to review these documents with an Elevate Impact staff member. Approved applicants will then sign and return documents to Elevate Impact. Next slide. Next is the legal document review. There are 4 different documents that we will be going over during this review. The seed grant agreement, the document review consultation form, W-9, and attachment A, standard provisions, and this provision does not require a signature. Next. This is an example of a grant agreement that you will be receiving. It starts off with the date of the agreement, your name, and your LA numbers. And can we scroll down a bit? Then it's followed by the grant amount, and followed by number 3, which is the use of funds that Paula went through regarding using the funds specifically to launch and operate your cannabis business and refrain from using the fund from any restricted purpose. Keep going down, 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 down. can you scroll down to, the events of default and the events of default. If you are using, if you happen to use the funds for other purposes than are outlined in the grant agreement, it will state here, it states here that they have the right, the city has the right to terminate their agreement, to revoke your cannabis license, to demand reimbursement, to take you to court, or to bar you from future funding with the city. Can you scroll down, please? Right here. Okay, this is very important. Your name, address, phone number, and email as listed here should be consistent throughout all of your legal documents and throughout all of your sign-ins with elevateimpactfunds.com. So make sure that you're using the email address that is listed here on your W-9 and for signing up for your account on elevateimpactfunds.com. And you can scroll down and you'll sign here. And you can request that the documents are sent to you via DocuSign. When the time comes, just let your underwriter know. Next is the consultation acknowledgement. This is acknowledging that we went through the documents with you. You can also decline this. If that is the case, you sign your name next to decline. If you accept and go through the consultation, you sign your name or print your name next to accept. Scroll down. And this form is also sent to you by Paula with the rest of your grant agreements. You're going to sign and date, and your name should actually be typed where it says equity applicant name. So you don't need to fill that in. Send this form to us as soon as the consultation is completed. This will get the ball rolling on the disbursement. No monies can be dispersed until we receive this form, whether or not you accept or decline. So make sure you sign and return this completed form to your underwriter as soon as your consultation is complete, or in the event that you decline, send it right away so we can move on with the process of dispersing your funds. Next is a W-9. The W-9 should include your individual name only as listed on the grant agreement. No businesses are allowed to receive the grant funds, so please do not fill in your business name. The individual sole proprietor box is checked for you. And also 5 and 6 should match the address listed on your grant agreement. Make sure to fill out your social security number and scroll down a little bit, please. And make sure to sign and date. I know it's a little bit far down there. Some people have been forgetting to sign, but sign and date it and return that to us. Next are the standard provisions. This form does not require your signature, and we'll go through this more during the loan review.
Grant.
Oh, sorry, grant review. Yes, it's not a loan, it's not a loan, grant review. So step 3 is signing documents. We offer DocuSign, which is an electronic platform which allows for the e-signing of your documents remotely. You can receive your documents, you have received your documents via email, so you can also choose to sign them the old school way and send them back to us, or request that the documents be sent to you via DocuSign. City officials, once we get those back, city officials will then e-sign the documents via DocuSign. Just let us know which one you prefer, DocuSign or the traditional manner. Step 4. Video identity verification. Elevate will hold a video call with approved applicants to verify their identity. This step is required to get your password to set up an Elevate Impact Funds account. During this call, this video call, you will hold up your ID and match it to the underwriter's file. And you will also hold up your bank statement, which we will then match to your file as well. We just want to make sure that we are giving the money to the correct person. Next is step 5. where you'll establish your Elevate Funds account, Elevate Impact Funds account. First, you'll complete your call to verify your identity. Next, you will receive an Elevate Impact Funds account credential including your username and password so you can sign up and get into your account. You'll need an electronic version of your driver's license and bank statement or voided check so that you can include your routing number and checking account number of your personal checking account or bank account. Step 6. Oh, and this is what it looks like. So you'll receive your username and password. You'll open up an email, open up the email and click on the link and insert your username and password here. Next. Then you'll verify your identity by entering your contact information that is listed on the grant agreement, your name, address, and email. Then you'll enter your banking information provided on the bank statement on file. You'll need your routing number and bank account information, which can be found on a check or online. Next, in order to confirm that we have the correct account, you'll receive micro deposits. Approved applicants will receive micro deposits to confirm the account has been established. Then you should let your underwriter know that you have received a micro deposit and the amount of the micro deposit. It doesn't happen instantaneously, and it could the micro deposit could hit your account in as many as 2 days. Let the underwriter know that you have received the micro deposit by sending them a screenshot of the micro deposit, and we'll match it up to the micro deposit amount that we have listed in our records. Step 6 is the fund disbursement. So by then, your grant agreement has been signed by yourself and the city. Your Elevate account has been verified and the grant funds are now in your account. So it's time to celebrate. The funds are there and you're able to start spending it in furtherance of your cannabis business. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Tiffany. We do not have any questions at the moment. I just wanted to reiterate, please, if you have any questions about the seed grant at all, not just this particular section, but even general questions, go ahead and type your questions in the Q&A chat box.
And while we're waiting for questions, I just want to articulate 2 things that we've seen happen during the grant disbursement process. It's very important when you set up your account at Elevate Impact Funds, which is where we do the ACH transfer. It's very important that you use the email that was in your grant agreement and you use the name that was in your grant agreement. We've had instances when people have gone to set up their ACH accounts, they're using different banking information and different names on the account. And remember, all of that information has been verified during our underwriting process. So you absolutely cannot change at the last step, because then we wouldn't have verified that last step, right? And it's imperative that we have processes in place to ensure that we're sending money to the right individuals. So please, whatever information is in your grant agreement, that is the information that you should use to set up your Elevate account. So thank you for taking the time to make sure that those things are consistent.
So no questions are coming in. Dr. B, would you like to share a few words?
Yes.
Great.
I just want to remind everybody, I know I sound like a broken record, but we have until August 18th to apply for this free money. We are still scratching our head wondering why folks aren't lined up around the corner to get this free money. So I just want to implore you to do that. I think folks are going to be so disappointed when they look up and realize that they missed that deadline and they could have gotten 25K or 10K. I know as a small business owner, any kind of infusion of funds into my startup was helpful. So please take the responsibility. Elevate Impact is there. They're very capable to assist you. The service is for free. And please don't spend money on consultants that are going to take money away from your business to fill out a 4-document application. Elevate Impact is there to help you. Their services are free. So come on, folks, let's go get this money. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. B. I guess I'll do one last call for questions. If you have questions, please, we're here to help. We want to answer any questions you have so that you may go ahead and apply for the grant money before the deadline of August 18th. So I'll leave it open for about 30 more seconds. And then we will conclude. Okay, well, we're going once and twice. And
There is one question.
yay.
Catherine, I know it's hard when you're speaking and trying to manage the questions, but we do have a question asking about, will there be a second round of grant coming? And I don't know if that has been determined at this time. We're right now focused on getting out this first amount of grant funding, as Dr. Brown already articulated. So please, please, please apply by the August 18th deadline, and we'll have to figure out what the future holds with our crystal ball. But right now, what we have is the money that needs to be dispersed by August 18th. So please apply.
I second that. And just, just to add on to what Paula is saying, after the August 18th deadline, whatever monies have not been dispersed, they're going to be redistributed on a pro rata basis. So everyone who has applied and is qualified to receive monies, we're going to divide up that money evenly among whoever has applied and been deemed, eligible. So folks are perhaps going to get a lot more money, and everybody's going to even be more upset. So apply by August 18th, and be responsible in terms of growing your business by applying for this free money.
Okay, great. That seems to wrap it up for the questions. And Dr. B, you can go ahead and close us out, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Paula, Ms. Groves, and your team for a robust and informative workshop. Thank you to my team, Mr. Spalding, Catherine, and Allison. We really appreciate you. This is the 4th in a series of Lunch and Learns. This is our 4th Lunch and Learn. All of the information that you received today, as well as the other 3 Lunch and Learns, can be found on the DCR website at cannabis.lacity.org. And you can go to the social equity page in terms of benefits and resources, and then just scroll down to the Seed Grant Program, and you can find that information there. As a reminder, again, Elevate has made themselves available to assist every applicant with completing their application. And I know, Paula, you say this all the time, please don't let, excellent be the enemy of good, or perfect be the enemy of good, right? So if you don't have it all together, still reach out to the Elevate Impact team, and they will help you complete your application for free. Use your best judgment and just complete the application. Additionally, we have the 3 tutorial videos for Seed, and you can find them on our website. These videos cover how to find the information about Seed Grant, how to fill out the grant assessment docs, and finally, how to submit the application. So that's another resource for you to complete your application. I want to, for the 50th time, remind you that the grant application is due on August 18th. And I want to thank you for participating today. Thank you, Paula, and your team. And with that, I will close out the day. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating.
Thank you.